The same love. You choose the humble and raise them high. You choose the weak and make them strong. You heal our brokenness inside and give us life. The same love that set the captives free, the same love that opened eyes to see, is calling us all by name. You are calling us all by name. The same God that spread the heavens wide, the same God that was crucified, is calling us all by name. You are calling us all by name. You take the faithless one aside and speak the words, "You are mine." You call the cynic and the proud. Come to me now. You're calling. You're calling. You're calling us to the cross. Mark chapter 5, verses 21 to 43. As Jesus recrossed to the other side, a crowd was waiting on the shore. One of them was Jairus, a synagogue leader. Jesus was barely out of the boat when Jairus fell at his feet. Please, please, my little girl is about to die, but I believe your hands can save her." His words broke Jesus' heart. So he followed Jairus, and the crowd followed Jesus. Of the many pressing around him, there was one with nothing left to lose. A woman who for 12 years had lost blood, plus all her money at the hands of healers, whose remedies only made things worse. She snaked her way through the crowd and with a desperate reach brushed just the sleeve of Jesus' robe. She had said to herself, "If I can just reach his sleeve." All of a sudden, she knew her wound was healed. Jesus sensed something too. He halted the crowd and said, "All right, who brushed against me?" The 12 chuckled. "All these people, and you're asking, who brushed me?" But Jesus was focused. He looked around. "I'm serious. Who brushed against me?" The woman knew she was the answer to Jesus' question. So she inched out from the crowd, folded at his feet, and told him her life story. Jesus smiled, ruffled his sleeve, and said, "My brave daughter, your brush with faith has healed you. Go on now. Your life is waiting for you." Jesus had barely finished speaking when several people ran up. "Jairus, it's too late. She's gone." Jesus moved between Jairus and the distraction. "This moment is about you and what you say you believe. This can end here, or we can keep going. What do you say?" Jairus nodded, and they kept on. Peter, James, and John were the only ones allowed to accompany them into Jairus' house. It was splashed with fresh grief, people beside themselves, weeping. Jesus waded right into it. "Why are you crying? She's only asleep." The mourners found Jesus callous and let him know it, but he didn't care. Jesus drove everyone from the house except Jairus and his wife and the 3 disciples. They made their way to where a 12-year-old girl lay motionless. Jesus knelt and squeezed her hand. "Hi, it's time to get up." And just like that, the girl rubbed her eyes, stretched, sat up, and started jumping around. Her parents, mourning, turned to dancing while the disciples stood speechless. In the midst of the joy, Jesus cautioned them, "All of you, not a word about this to anyone. Now, I bet she's hungry." A humble father at the end of his rope, willing to do whatever might save his little girl. A daughter held captive by the grip of death itself. A broken woman who'd had years of her life stolen by a debilitating sickness. 3 very different people with very different needs, yet each came into direct contact with the very same love, the love of God. The same God called out to each of them in different ways. Jairus was challenged by, "What do you say?" His daughter was roused with, "It's time to get up." And the desperate woman heard the strange question, "Who brushed me?" Each one answered specifically out of their lives, but each responded to the very same love, the love of God. Shouldn't we admit, though, that even after experiencing this love, we've entertained doubts? And though we've seen answers to prayers, some questions still remain. In this life, we experience the discipline of holiness alongside the inevitable humanity of sinfulness. And between these opposing realities, we're daily called to choose to pledge our allegiance to the God who never leaves us, committing afresh to walk the walk of faith. God's unwavering love for us continues, even when ours falters. He's calling us by name to remind us that He knows our faults and failures. He's reminding us that the cross bears our sin and shame, and the offer is to begin anew. And so we walk with feeble legs toward the cross no matter what we've been through. And there he offers us the same love, unconditionally. My mind immediately goes to Peter, a disciple a lot like us. He was faith-filled and trusting one moment, then fighting with the others over who would be the greatest in the next breath. In the course of the same evening, he was prepared to defend Jesus in the garden, but then later denied even knowing Jesus, all in an effort to save his own skin. But the amazing thing is that Jesus said on the life and testimony of this imperfect man, God would build his church. The same truth holds for us. We are his church. God has opened up our eyes and revealed himself and taken up residence in our hearts. And he is building his church revelation upon revelation like a builder builds with bricks. The story goes that Peter remained faithful till the end, even dying a martyr's death. After realizing the depths of Christ's love, he lived with a faith he was willing to die for, not deny. Faith, by its very definition, is belief in that which is unseen. It's believing that the same love that spread the heavens wide and was crucified and raised Jairus' little girl and sent a woman back into her new life is calling to you today. Your circumstances will be unique to you. Maybe the same love is challenging you to choose what you believe. Maybe you're being asked to bravely step out and let everyone see you and your story. Maybe it's an invitation to get up and get back to the business of living. Then again, maybe that same love is simply calling your name to remind you of your worth in God's eyes. Different times, different stories, different needs, but a love that is the same yesterday, today, and forever, calling, come to me now. Take a few moments and look at the specifics in your story, not someone else's or some caricature of how you think things should be, but the reality of your life. Then ask Jesus, what are you calling me to? His standing answer of love will be shaped in a way especially designed for you. Jesus, there are so many different voices competing for my attention. Voices that only know me as a number or a category. I want to listen only to your voice of love, the same one that calls and knows me by name. Amen.